Gonna go check out our girl, make sure she's doing well. Good morning, world. How are you? It's such a day. Through and through. And I think to myself, here we go again. As we drive to the hospital, only 30 minutes away. I am so glad I can go lay in my bed and then I'll sleep next to my husband. So, yeah, I was able to go home last night. Todd went to hang out with Kadlin in the afternoon, through the night. And I got to come home, spend a while with Connor, and then sleep in my own bed, which actually is a really huge deal. I'm so torn about if it's easier to sleep in my own bed or sleep at the hospital. I know people think that I'm weird for being able to sleep at the hospital, but I really can. The noise, the nurses, the doctors, everybody coming in and out, and it doesn't bother me. I'm able to sleep selectively through things. And it seems like I wake up quite easily if one of the alarms, if there's something going on that I need to be aware of, I just wake up. Like, I am alert and awake. But I also very easily sleep through all the other things. Like if they're coming in to do vitals, doesn't bother me. If Kadlin's heart rate goes low, that's a normal thing. And I am okay. Like, it's not a big deal. So I sleep at the hospital really, really well, actually. Weirdly well. But then coming home, I get Todd, I get Connor, and oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much more comfortable my bed is compared to a hospital parent bed. The parent beds are approximately 100 billion freaking times more uncomfortable than even the patient bed. It is really astounding how well I sleep there. But then when I'm home, yes, I've got all the comforts, but I don't have Kadlin. And for the last 7.5 years, it's me and Todd taking care of her 100%. And what if there's an emergency with her? I don't really have to worry about emergencies in the middle of the night with Todd and Connor. I mean, occasionally, like, that's just a normal thing. Kid wakes up throwing up, reflux, you know, whatever. But they're not really emergent situations. If Kadlin's in the hospital, she literally could have an emergency. And if I'm not there, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna do all the things that I would tell them to do? Are they gonna take care of her as well as I could? And the answer is yes. Most of the time. Yesterday, I had to go over again with the doctor all of her medications because for the last 3 days, I have had to tell people, no, you can't give that to her. No, that's not the right time. No, 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 because it wasn't entered in properly the first time when I discussed it. So will they take care of her? Well, exceptionally well, yes. But then we get back to the fact that I'm her mom. I have insight to this child that they don't. Thankfully, the majority of the time they acknowledge that I've got the insight that they don't. It makes for an interesting conundrum. Do I sleep at the hospital or do I sleep at home? That was one of the fabulous things at Primary Children's and having, I say fabulous as a silver lining, not really that it's great. But I didn't have to decide, Where am I going to sleep tonight? Am I going home or am I staying at the hospital? Because it was 3 hours away. No, I wasn't going home. I didn't have to make that decision. Sorry, had to pause you for a second. Logically, I know that Todd doesn't feel like I'm choosing our child over him. Logically, I know Connor understands the situation. Logically, I know I'm not actually putting one child as more important as anyone else. Logically. Unfortunately, I have this really cool thing called anxiety, and it helps me use my emotions far more quickly than my logic. And that's all this is this is my feeling. And sometimes feelings just take precedence over logic. We know this. Everybody experiences it at least once, where you logically know something, but emotionally, totally different story. And that's all this is. I know it, and I just work through it, and thankfully Todd works with me, and he is nothing but supportive, and, you know, he sits with me in my anxiety. I need you to understand that while I say I have to choose, I feel like I have to choose. Really, there is no choice. Todd doesn't expect me to choose. We just have to decide which child are we with at the moment. It's necessary, it's mandatory. We have 2 children, 2 separate needs, 2 different locations. So yes, I feel like I have to choose, but in reality, there is no choice. There is the discussion. Which child needs which parent at which time, which moment. And that's fine. That's what you do on a daily basis with the parents and children. That's normal. Ours just happens to be in a little bit more extreme of that. With that in mind, you may continue watching and hearing about my feelings. I have to decide where the priority is. And prioritizing people is hard. It's really, really hard. I have to decide what instance is more likely to happen. I have to decide where I will be most useful. And when you're comparing usefulness from a parent standpoint, I've got a 10-year-old. Yesterday, he turned 10. And I had to decide, well, is Kadlin in an emergent situation where she needs one of her parents with her? Or can we take enough time to get Connor his birthday cake, sing to him, celebrate for a few minutes with him, and make sure he is as emotionally taken care of as well? Do we have time for that? Or do I need to stay with Kadlin because she's dicey enough that we don't know how it's going to go down? And prioritizing your children sucks a lot, and it's hard. And then you have to take into the equation, well, how am I feeling? Am I taking enough care of myself so that I can better prioritize my children? And then I also have I'm married. I have my husband who I want to be with. That's why I married him. That's why we committed to each other, to be together. And I need to place another priority on another person. And it's hard to make those decisions. Good evening. So we are now January 3rd. Almost a week in the hospital now. We are trialing different formulas to see what we can do to make her process formula, because I think that's been the problem for a very, very long time. And now we're just finally taking care of it. This does mean that the trajectory is a little uncertain. It's a very trial and error sort of thing. Thankfully, we're trying the first new formula and it seems like it's going really well. Like, look at this kid. Yeah, look at this kid. There's so many smiles. Smiles for miles and miles. Smiles for miles and miles. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So she's actually doing really well now. We're all annoyed that she's still in the hospital a week later, but it's not that bad yet. When we came in on Wednesday, we weren't really sure what was going on. We weren't really sure how long this process would be. Honestly, we thought it was going to be a day, maybe two. But Kadlin had other plans for us. That's really the thing that life with Kadlin is we just kind of have to roll with it, kind of go, well, it worked yesterday, it's not working today, let's figure out something else, and we just go for it. Thankfully, I don't love being in the hospital, but it's one of those things where I'm really grateful I have a hospital, just in case. Good morning, Connor.
Good morning.
So, even when you're a kid, even when your sister is in the hospital, you still have normal things to do, like go to school. Here I am on my way to the hospital again. Really, just because somebody's in the hospital doesn't mean anybody else's life stops. My life changes, my life alters, but bills still have to be paid. Rent is still due. Groceries still have to be bought. Connor still has to go to school. And that's one of the harder things about being in the hospital. It's just because my life, because my child is in the hospital, because my situation has changed. It doesn't mean anything else has. We've always had family to fall back on. We have always had support systems in place, and even so, it's still hard because life for so many others still moves on, which is fine, it should. But it makes it a stark difference for those of us who have complex families. Got baby home. First thing she does, goes to her brother. Yeah, look at that smile. Yeah.
Seriously, Kadlin. I was trying to kiss you on the cheek. Seriously.
Oh, she knows where she wants you.
Well, you know that we don't drink alcohol out here, right?
She's like...
To make a very long story much shorter, let me give you the quick cliff notes. Kadlin went into the hospital because she was dehydrated. She wasn't tolerating her food. She was gagging, retching, vomiting, while she was eating, while it was being dripped into her. We got to the hospital. We played at the hospital. It took her a while to find the food we needed to get her out, so we had to change formulas. After we changed formulas, she was like a night and day different person. She's like in so much better of a mood. She's behaving, she is playing, she is really, really even more interactive than before. It was a night and day difference. She didn't look like she was in pain. She wasn't crying. She wasn't sad. We then came home yesterday. So that was 1 week. We had Connor's birthday. We had New Year's. They're the same day. I did a lot of emotional rambling. There is a lot of emotion jam-packed in these hospital sessions. And it doesn't matter if they're short, it doesn't matter if they're long stays, it doesn't matter that I'm only 30 minutes away from the hospital as opposed to 3 hours away. When Kadlin gets hospitalized, there is a lot of emotion involved, and there is a lot of stress, and there is a lot of feeling to work through. And that's about it. We got Kadlin home, settled. I unpacked everything, most everything. I've got my bag ready to go next time. Hopefully, it won't be soon. But, like I've talked about, when you go to the hospital, it's very possible to pick up another ailment when you're there. Kadlin picked something up while she was there. I had an idea it was gonna happen. Her temp has been kind of weird the last little bit. It stabilized out after she had her hypothermia event. It stabilized. After it stabilized, it destabilized, and her temp went up. Her nose is very snotty and very delicious, very virus looking. We'll just go as we go. Thankfully, I can do a lot here at home. I can take care of the good majority of what she needs here at home. A lot of the time when I go to the hospital because she is sick, it's because I need extra help. I need to get some sleep more than I don't know how to do something. Because even when we're at the hospital, I still sit at the bedside. 95% of the time, I'm the one suctioning, I'm still changing her diapers, I'm still changing her trach, I'm still doing everything that I do here at home, but I now just have a little extra support so that I can feel like Todd and I can both get some sleep. I will let you know how the week goes. I expect that she'll be sick for a couple days. She might need a little extra oxygen. She might need a little extra sleep. But essentially, in theory, knock on wood, we should be able to stay home and not go to the hospital with this.